Hi everyone. Hello, hello. I hope I'm live now. Let me just check. There I am. Wonderful. Lovely to be here again. So there we are, everyone. I'm so excited to be here again, to be invited one more time. And I would actually love to introduce myself. My name is Schaefer. I'm an author of mainly romance novels. That's for adults, explicit. So if that's too much for you, you probably shouldn't continue watching this. And otherwise, I would love to say, first of all, to Mama, please get well soon. I know she sent me a message saying she's not feeling well, so she won't be able to attend my live. But she wishes me all the best. And of course, you know, my heart goes out to her. Lots of healing vibes sent, and I hope she is going to be well very soon again. So let me just pull up my, I haven't got a paperback copy yet myself, so I have to pull it up on the screen and read to you from there. So we just call, but I'll keep checking in between for your comments if there are any. I hope you're going to watch, or if you're watching the replay, please say hello. I'm going to come back regularly to check. If you want to, ask any questions or say anything else, or just say hi, I'm so happy. I'll be really happy for you to watch and to know that you are watching. So let me know, please. About my book, it's actually just been published 2 days ago, and it's called A Beary Little Christmas, which is part of my Christmas series, which is called TIRZA'S Christmas Tales. And I started it with the first one, and then I thought, when I was writing the second, I thought, they're all standalone, but let's make a series out of it so it's easier to find anything with a Christmas theme. If it's not already part of another series, it's going to go under this one. They're going to be standalone, shorter reads, something for your heart, for your mind, and to ignite your passions as well. Some more, some less. Like the first book in that series is called A New Family for Christmas. I've got all the links in the info box, so you can just check it there. Also, for those who watch it on YouTube later, just look at the info text and it'll all be there. So I'm very happy to introduce that one to you. That's a rather sweet story. It's about a lady, Anastasia, who runs a bakery, and not a normal one, but she bakes cookies, and they are works of art, and the way she decorates them and all that, they're really sought after. And just before Christmas, there's this father and child. They're both homeless, standing in front of a shop window, and she sees them and invites them in for a cookie and a hot cup of hot chocolate. So one thing leads to another, and they end up being like an arranged marriage family kind of thing. So and how that works to become into a romance, if you're curious enough, pick up the book, read it. It's a very sweet story. The next one is in that series is Christmas in Montana. That's a bit funny because there is a demented wolf in it. And so the wolf actually pukes in the guy's shirt collar. But notwithstanding all that gross stuff, the two main characters do fall in love, and which is the start of a wonderful romance. Again, a Christmas story in the snow. And the third one, which is the one I'm reading to you from today, is A Very Little Christmas. And I'm actually quite excited about this one because it's my first shifter story, my first paranormal story. It's set in the real world, but it's got a shifter, it's got a witch, and it's got twins that are um, twins with their mother together have a karmic task to fulfill in this lifetime, to lift a curse, a spell put by black magic. Okay, so that's a bit of a complicated thing if you don't want to dabble into black magic yourself, and if you want to keep on the light side of things. So the term black and white magic has nothing to do with ethnicity, for those who don't know, but it means like if if you the white magic, which would be the one who is in alignment with nature, doesn't go against the laws of nature but works with them. And black magic is the opposite, going against it and just working for your own personal gain, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's got nothing to do with anybody's skin color. All right. Yeah, and the shifter, well, the shifter was kind of one and a half, because there's a bear. And there's one who might sometimes be a bear, but not really. So he doesn't change into a bear during the story. But that will be explained as well in detail in the book, how all that works out. And I would love to read to you the first couple of chapters so you get an idea what it's all about. And I would really love to have your feedback on that one. If if you'd be so kind to listen and let me know what you think about it. All honest would be so wonderful, because even though it's my 30th book I've just published, at the same time, it's also the first one where magical beings are involved. So, it's a special one for me. It's not just like, oh, there's another one, the usual stuff. Well, they're all kind of different and special to me, all books, but this one has like, a completely different setup. So I'm very excited about that and also a little bit nervous. So yeah, I'm going to read the story now, okay? And please comment. I will always come back and have a look, all right? Let me just go very quickly share that out to my book group so people maybe can still join us if they feel like it, okay? Great, so we've done that. Here I am, and let's start with chapter 1 of A Very Little Christmas. And it's called A Life-Saving Miracle. Just put it that way. Okay. The wind was cold and blew in his face, freezing his skin, nose, and lips. The man worked his way forward in the blizzard, hoping that the light he had seen earlier wasn't a mirage or a figment of his imagination. Being stranded out here in the wilderness of these mountains in winter was bad enough, but to be caught in a blizzard meant death for sure. As long as he kept moving in the right direction, but he wasn't even sure if he really still had the right direction. The wind and snow blinded him, and so he kept his eyes closed, reaching deep inside his core and following his instincts. It was the best he could do. Keep moving, one step at a time. Move forward into the light. The sky was as grey as the snowstorm all around him, and suddenly in front of him stood an angel. Was he dead and didn't realize? She, the angel, was a woman with long blonde hair, wavy just like those kitsch Christmas depictions from the 1800s. She was wearing a suit of some sort. He wasn't sure, but it looked like a flannel pajama sticking out under a winter coat. She didn't have wings. Weren't angels supposed to have wings? Keep moving. You are nearly there. I can't carry you. Give me your hand. The angel shouted over the howling of the wind and the turning over of the snow on the ground. He obeyed, trusting her, although he wasn't sure how angels could be so frail. They were messengers of God, powerful. He had heard of angels stopping cars and lifting tree trunks. Miracles. Maybe it took a certain kind of angel to perform these physical tasks. God sure had a sense of humor. He obviously deemed him valuable enough to be rescued, but for not being a good Christian, he had taken out the whip and made him fight for life. Fight for each step. See the rope? The angel shouted, pointing at her heart. Across her chest, from her right shoulder to her left hip, hung the end loop of a lasso. At the end is the house. Lassos weren't that long, right? He could do it. He nodded, picked up the rope, and moved along it, pulling the dainty little angel along with him. At the end of the rope, however, there was a knot and another long rope. His hopes were shattered. He had rallied his last reserves of energy to make it, and now went on and on. How many? He shouted, grabbing the angel by the scruff in anger. 7, she shouted back. And you wasting energy pummeling me around won't help. I didn't have more ropes, but I saw you from my bedroom window and came towards you as far out as I could. Come on. I can't. He dropped to his knees and hung his head. Exhaustion threatened to kill him outright. The little angel woman took his face into both her own hands, looked into his eyes, and then bent forward to kiss him. It was as if he had been given an electric shock. He was flooded with energy. His cock sprang to life of all things. He grabbed her coat, pulled her close, and kissed her back with a hunger that told of his conviction that she was his lifeline. And she was. A line of ropes leading to a warm house. She pushed him back, but laughed. Good. Now let's get you inside. He stood again and walked with her, one rope after another, fighting his way forward, pulling his little pyjama-clad angel along, who had to be freezing cold. They didn't speak anymore, only moved forward, one rope, another. He let go of her hand when he reached the door of the house. The rope fell from his hand into the snow and disappeared there. He turned, but his angel was gone. He only saw his own footprints, and they were filling fast with new snow. He pounded his fist against the door. Help, help, let me in, he shouted. The door was torn open. A small woman in pajamas with tousled hair and sleepy eyes stood before him. Oh my God, come in. What happened to you? Never mind, come in quick. He allowed her to do so passively. His clothes were sodden. As she pulled him inside, closed and bolted the door again, and started to take off his clothes. He allowed her to do so passively. His clothes were sodden, not made to walk through a blizzard. When he was stripped to his underpants, she pulled him along, up the stairs, and into her bedroom. Get in, she ordered. Yes, ma'am. I'll get a hot water bottle and some tea. I'll be right back. Stay under the blanket. You're a Girl Scout? He asked. I've got common sense. With that statement, she left the room and he crawled under the sheets. The stuffed duvet was still warm on the inside from where she had slept. He let his head sink onto the pillow and was nearly asleep when she returned. Okay, here's the hot water bottle. Let's put it on your feet first. Drink this as hot as you can, okay? She handed him a steaming mug filled with hot tea. It smelled of ginger, oranges, and walnuts. He couldn't quite pin it, but the scent was delicious. And when he took his first sip, it tasted even better. The tea slowly melted his insides. It reminded him of Christmas. A Christmas long ago when he had been a little boy and his parents had still been alive. When he had finished his tea, she took the mug and put it on top of a drawer. I'm going to take my PJs off now and come to bed with you to warm you up. No other reason, okay? Okay. His voice was hardly audible and sounded decidedly raspy. A shudder ran down her spine and shook her small frame for a fleeting moment before her face took on an expression of determination, and she pulled her pajama top over her head. Her pants were next. She stood completely naked now. She was his angel. These long, blonde, wavy strands of pure spun gold, those large blue eyes. When she slid into bed beside him, he lifted the covers to help her get in, and she saw the bulge in his briefs. The tip of his hard cock had pushed the boundaries of its confines and was looking out at the top of the elastic waistband. She froze and stared at it. It's just my body reacting to a beautiful apparition. I can't help it. But I won't do anything, trust me. I just want to get warm, he told her. Liar, she said and smiled. What's your name? Arrow. That's not a nickname, it's my real name. My dad was a weapons expert and sniper. I guess he wanted me to always hit my target. It suits you. You are goal-oriented, I can tell. How? Your eyes. I see it in them. What else do you see in them, Angel? How do you know my name? Your name is Angel? Yes. I saw you in the snow. I wouldn't have made it without you. You wore a coat over your PJs and had a rope slung around your shoulder. You guided me safely to your door. In fact, I thought you were real until you were suddenly gone and opened the door for me. I dreamed I did that, she gasped, and allowed him to pull her flush against his side without a second thought. Well, some Christmas angel seems to have had a hand in it then. I'd rather say it was our subconscious both connecting, but whatever the explanation is, I'm grateful it saved your life. Thank you. So am I. Can you feel your feet and hands? Angel snuggled more closely to him, a small sigh escaping her, and she melted against him. I can feel all parts of my body, yes. I seem to have been really lucky in more ways than one. He smiled down at her, and when she returned his gaze, he decided to chance it and ask again. What else can you see in my eyes? You're lonely. There is a deep sadness within you that you seek to hide, but it is there. You are looking for a connection, but you also fear it because you have experienced great grief. And right now, you're contemplating whether you should try to seduce me or if that will backfire. And you are not sure whether you have the strength to make love. The shudder that ripped through him at this was intense. She was right with everything she said. Messenger indeed, of God or the devil, who knew. He didn't care. If the devil was so cute and smelled so delicious, he'd rather be in hell right now. Were you all alone? She asked softly. He knew she meant out there in the blizzard. Yes, I came down with the chopper. You are lucky you even survived that. I jumped out before it hit the ground, otherwise I wouldn't have. Good reflexes then, she smiled. You're a warrior. Kind of. I had my fights in bars and such. That shit-itching grin was designed to confuse and convince, but she wasn't so easily fooled. That's a bullet scar. You were shot, she said and pointed at his shoulder. What do little angels know about bullets? He countered. I know enough to recognize one when I see it. She ran her hand over his tanned skin. Veteran? Not strictly speaking, he said, shrugging. Okay, keep it to yourself, handsome. It doesn't make a difference anyhow. We're stuck here for a week or two together. The landline went down, so no phone or internet. Luckily, I stocked the freezer for 2 months in advance, so we should get you through that period. Even though you are so big, I suggest you sleep now. Let me just keep you warm. I'm not sure I can sleep with such a boner. Then you have to do something about it yourself. Are you sure? Because I can see a passion in your eyes that tells me you want me to. Arrow, when you're training your muscles and stamina, and I can tell you do, you don't get such a body by lying on the couch all day. So when you train, do you ever feel like you'd rather lie on a couch and watch a movie on Netflix? Yes, all the time. And still you pull through? Otherwise, I wouldn't have this body. Then you will understand that you're my couch and I'd rather train. She turned around in his arms so that he was facing her back. Arrow sighed and closed his eyes. It wasn't always easy, but he would always respect a woman's choices. Anything else was simply unthinkable. He turned on his side, careful to not let his hard cock poke her back, but then she snuggled against him. You need to get warm, and trying to keep that giant thing out of the way is not going to work very well if you want to have a full-length body contact. Let's just ignore it. I don't think I can, but I'll just lie here and warm up, promise. You ought to sleep. You're exhausted, Arrow. She was right, and he decided to at least give it a go and closed his eyes. But this only served to heighten the sensations he felt. Her warm skin against him, her small body molding so perfectly into the curve of his large frame. She lay there for a while, not sleeping either. Her breath gave her away. She suddenly reached behind her and took his cock into her hand, feeling its hardness. You won't be able to sleep like that, she said and turned back to him, obviously having changed her mind about the couch allegory. We have to do something about that. She pushed down his briefs and took them off. Then she disappeared under the covers, and next thing he knew, she had enveloped a straining cock in her mouth. A low growl escaped him, and he reached down to fist her hair in one hand. Her lips glided up and down his shaft, her tongue swirled around the mushroom head, and then sucked him in deeper. Her hands worked his shaft because he was so big she could hardly fit the top third in her mouth. Oh God, Angel, you feel so good. Suck Daddy's cock, yes. You like it? She nodded, letting her tongue tickle the glands on the underside of his cock. Baby, I'm gonna come. He tried to pull her back from his cock so that her hands alone would finish him off, but she strained against his grip, insistent on remaining exactly where she was. You want me to come in your mouth? He groaned, his shaft nearly exploding. His balls had pulled up and were ready to shoot. She nodded as she did so. She squeezed his shaft in one hand while the other cupped his balls and started to play with them. Oh God, you dirty little angel. With a roar, he came into her mouth and strained against her, his lips leaving the mattress as his body arched back. Angel swallowed eagerly and only let go when she had lapped up the last drop of his body, and his body was sinking back onto the bed at last. Without another word, she nestled her head back into the crook of his arm and closed her eyes. Fuck, that was one hell of a resuscitation technique, little one, he told her. Sleep now, she said. And you? He asked. I'm not the one who nearly died in a snowstorm, she quipped. Okay, thank you so much for the love, Tasha. And I can't see any comments yet. So please say hello. I'm going to skip chapter 2 and go on to chapter 3, okay, which is called Eagle and Bear. Some 20 minutes later, they sat side by side in bed, steaming mugs in their hands and smiling at each other. This really feels like Christmas, you know. I've not had that feeling since I was a little boy. There is that pain again, she observed and kindly laid her hand on his leg. Later. We were going to talk about yours first. I'm not going to jump the queue. She smiled and took a sip from her steaming mug. She was calm now and seemed to be at ease, but there was still a small shadow right at the back of her eyes that told him otherwise. I was married. My husband was the son of a rich family. I didn't care about the money. I wanted to only move far away from them, but he was so involved in his family's affairs, the business and social status, all that. He kept putting it off and said his mother needed him, his dad wasn't feeling well, and no one else could be trusted to take the load off his shoulders, that sort of thing. So he stayed close and he worked in his father's law firm. I hated having to go to galas and charity balls and all that, but I did it to support my husband. His parents knew how I felt and loathed me. They saw me as a threat, so they kept introducing women of his standing to him at social functions, hoping he would turn away from me. But he didn't. They wanted an heir. I got pregnant, although I didn't want a baby yet. I didn't want one before he hadn't distanced himself from that world, but he insisted, saying they would get off my case and they had not cared much about him when he was a child. He'd had nannies and tutors, so they wouldn't suddenly be all over the child. I was so naive. As soon as we told them I was pregnant, they started to give us lists with names, what kind of schools and tutoring were the best, and all that. It was hell. One night we drove home after visiting his parents and argued about it. I said I would move away on my own and he was welcome to follow us, but I wasn't going to allow his parents to plan my child's life with no room to breathe or play. Arrow's brow had furrowed more and more at this. Did they take away your child? He asked. No, we argued so much I had a miscarriage from the stress. And then the doctor said the chances of me getting pregnant ever again were non existent. At first, Charles said we should wait and I should get healthy again, and he cared for me, feeling contrite and guilty, but he wanted to make it up to me, and he was convinced that after a while the doctors would test and find I was able to conceive again. They didn't rule it out, but my tissue was so scarred, so they reckoned it was highly unlikely. I'm really sorry about that. So sorry. Yes. He became more and more distant, visited his parents on his own, and didn't insist any longer for me to accompany him to social functions. I hardly ventured out of the house, and after the pain of losing my child, I was also losing my husband, watching him distance himself from me further and further, and I was unable to do anything about it. Then it was almost Christmas again, 3 years after I had lost my child, the day before Christmas Eve. I sat at my vanity table and saw Charles look down at me in the mirror. I knew then he was leaving me. He only wanted to wait until after Christmas, I suppose. I told him I knew he had someone else and I wasn't going to pretend anymore. At first, he denied it because he didn't want to argue on the night where we were invited to his parents' house. Only the two of us, because they had no desire to have me attend any of their functions either. It was to save face, but they didn't really want me there, no more than I ever wanted to see them again. I told Charles I wasn't going, and I was sure his hall was chosen by his parents and she could go with him. In the end, he admitted to it and told me she was already pregnant, but he had wanted to wait until after New Year to break up, so as not to spoil my Christmas. I told him to go on his own and take a bag. When he returned, I had already left. I was driving south because I wanted to be as far away as possible from the people who had destroyed all my dreams and hopes. I got a lawyer and filed for divorce. His parents called and told me they wouldn't allow me to take money from their son. I told them I'm keeping my car and whatever was in my personal account at the time. I didn't want anything else. I wanted to start a new life without any of them still playing a part in it. I told them Charles already had that black on white in the papers I'd sent him, and that I thought a car and some cash wasn't too much to ask. They said they were very happy to hear I was so sensible. Charles called later and told me he signed, and he wanted to give me some extra money to start a new life and not want for anything. I told him he had my account details, whatever he felt fair to give me, he could transfer. I wouldn't refuse it, but I wasn't asking for anything. He gave me $220,000. Considering that his parents are worth 3 billion, that is a pittance, but I was surprised he gave me anything at all when he didn't have to. He called to ask whether I received it, and I said it was a nice tip for services rendered and put the phone down. Then one night, just a few days later, the police came knocking at my door. Angel started to cry again, and Arrow put his tea down and drew her into his arms. Breathe, take your time, he soothed and rubbed her back. At length she calmed down again and took another sip from her tea. He had died in a car crash, and his girlfriend with him. They had cut the baby out of her belly, hoping to save it, but it was way too early. The child didn't survive either, and his parents don't have an heir to leave anything to. I went to the funeral, and Charles's mother asked me whether I had come to gloat. Can you believe how vile a person must be to assume such a thing? I told her that I had genuinely loved her son for many years, and even though our relationship had ended, it didn't mean I wished him any harm, let alone death, and that I had come to say goodbye to the only man I had ever loved. They threw me out. They wouldn't even let me say goodbye to him. So I never told them. Told them what? That when Charles left me, I had been pregnant. They don't know and never will. I don't want any of their money. Can you believe how they would try to make my son to take my sons away from me and mold them into ruthless persons to be just like them? You have a son? Where is he? I have two sons. They are twins. God gave this gift to me. I had wanted to tell him and his parents that evening we were invited over. I was 3 months pregnant. They were born in June. The funeral was on the 23rd of December, again the day before Christmas Eve. A friend I'd made in Del Mar, that's a small place north of San Diego, had come with me to Maryland to look after the boys while I was at the funeral. They are sleeping in the room down the hall. They're 16 now. Whoa, you have two sons here, and they won't hear in this weather, don't worry. The blizzard is so loud the way it howls around the house, and frankly, all this time since Charles, I have not been with another man. I changed my name after the funeral, and that was it. I don't even know whether Charles' parents are still alive. But each year, on the day before Christmas Eve, I have to think of him and them, and I was afraid if I told you, you wouldn't. I wanted you, and you were the first man I wanted since Charles left. It's okay, he said, rubbing her back gently. Trust me, I don't regret anything what we did. You're not the only one who enjoyed it, but we have to talk about this before I meet your sons. Do you want me to sleep on the couch or the guest room if you have one, or what? I'd rather you stayed here, just for as long as you're here. I don't have any expectations, but I want more of this, whatever this is. I'd say sex, but it doesn't feel like just sex, if that's okay with you. My sons know there was no one else since their dad died. I told them the truth about the car crash, but not the surrounding circumstances. They assumed their father had the same surname as we have, and I told them he was an only child with his parents already dead, so there was no other family. I told them he was so excited about them and that he loved them to abandon, and that I was sure he was watching over us, keeping us safe. Lately, they told me I had to go out and date again. We'll see what the wind blew in, quite literally. They both chuckled. It's a sign, I'm sure. No matter what happens later, but I'm sure they will understand that I took it as a sign to finally open up to someone else again. Even if that someone doesn't turn out to be my new soulmate and future husband. Even if it's a week or 10 days of being together and enjoying each other, and then you leave and that's it. I won't regret a thing. I feel so alive again now. My sons were right. I needed it. Have gloriously hot sex. They probably thought more going out for dinner with someone. I don't think they even want to consider that I could possibly have sex at all. Arrow burst out laughing. Suddenly, the door was flung open, and Arrow quickly drew the blanket over Angel's body to her chin, covering his own midsection in the process. Two pairs of blue eyes stared at them. Ma! The boys looked as angelic as their mother, but in a decidedly male way. It was plain to see that they would turn out into very handsome young men in just a few short years. Darlings, this is Arrow. His helicopter came down and he fought his way through the blizzard and nearly died of cold. He just made it to the door. Luckily, I heard him and opened, and then I had to warm him up. Angel's cheeks turned a bright pink and Arrow waved. I had hoped to meet you with more clothes on, but as it is, we have to make the best of what we have. So it's nice to meet you, and you'll understand that I can't get up to shake your hands right now. Of course not. Ma, are you all right? The twins asked as one. I'm very happy, Angel smiled at them. Give me a minute. I'll come and talk to you. So thank you for all the love, guys. I'm seeing the house floating up. I can't see any comments, I'm afraid. Please say hello if you can, if you want. And that was chapter 3, minus chapter 2, which I jumped over, but that's quite a hot one. So if you want to read that, get the book. So you can get it on, all major online stores. The link is in the text, but I can also just copy it again for you. It's a very little Christmas. There we go. Right. Okay. Now I can't see anything at all. No. So I can't see even my own comment, only that there is one. So, oh, Grace, I can see yours now. Thank you so much. Hello. Nice to see you. So good to see you again. Thank you for joining. That's very, very nice of you. Yeah, so I obviously have to look into on this page here. Anyway, yeah, that was chapter 3, and I hope you really enjoyed it. I'm not going to read chapter 4 to you because there's only 7, no, there's 13 chapters, but I think that's a good way to end it. So Angel goes down to speak to her sons, and Arrow joins them, and they get to know more about each other. They get to know about Arrow. why he crashed his helicopter, how he survived, and a few other things, and then also about various other things. Okay, so that's going to be very interesting. And when I get up the next morning, Angel sends out one of her sons to fetch some firewood from the shed. And when he comes back in, he has his arms full, so he can't close the door properly. And after him walks in a grizzly bear and takes up residence by the fire. So, Grace, very good. I just bought the book. Oh, you did? Oh, wonderful. Please let me know how you liked it. I'd be so, I'm so excited about that. So, yeah, so I've got this grizzly bear that you see on the front cover sitting in front of the Christmas tree, sitting in front of the open fire and really blocking the entire downstairs. Angel is a witch, so she put some salt on the stairs and cast a spell so the bear can't cross that line, so they're safe on the stairs and upstairs, but they can't go down, and they don't have a gun in the house, so that they can't shoot the bear even if they wanted to or anything like that. So they're like, what are we gonna do? And the bear's eating all the pancakes. Okay, so how they solve that whole thing, sure will. Oh, thank you so much, Grace, that's wonderful. I'm so looking forward to that. So yeah, if you want to know how that one develops with the bear and the crashed helicopter pilot Arrow, then read the book. Let me know how you liked it, and I hope you enjoyed the reading as well. Again, I want to wish Mama a very get well soon and a good rest, so she can heal, and lots of love to her. So when you see it tomorrow, maybe, or some other time, lots of love from me to you. And thank you so much, everyone, for having me here. I'm really, really excited. I'm just gonna post a couple of pictures more in the next few minutes from the books from this series separately, so you can have a look at them in more detail. Okay, so lots of love, and I'll talk to you later. Okay, if I don't see you again before that, I wish you a very Merry Christmas, a wonderful New Year, very happy one, and hopefully all that COVID is over soon, so we can all meet the people we love and like in person again. Okay.